All right, guys, happy Monday. Welcome to our Team Sweaty Lovely Life team call. It's Monday. It's the last Monday of February, and I am so pumped to be having our guest speaker tonight, Sami, to close out the month. Okay, so really quick, I'm just going to go through recognition, and I'm going to save all other announcements for later. Because I want to shout you guys out. All right. So last month we changed a record number for us. Over the last 2 months we have been really growing as a team, and we changed 30 lives last month. We have 3 days left, and we are at 33 lives for the month, and we have a whole bunch of new names on this board from the last couple weeks even. Which is really exciting. And I know people are just not giving up, which is what makes me the proudest, and just chugging along and being consistent. So I just want to shout you guys out. I want to shout out Erica. She's our life changer of the week for changing her first life and really hitting the ground running with all her training and just putting it into action. So I'm super proud of her. And now I'm just going to introduce our guest speaker. I'm going to stop my share because I can't figure this out. Oh my gosh, hold on. I'm so special when it comes to this. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, here we go. Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. If you guys don't know who she is, holy crap, you need to go find out right now. Sami Glonek. She is the CEO of Team Better For It. You guys look at these stats. Okay, she's two-time elite. She ended the year 2018 at number 15 in the whole freaking company. Insane. She is an 8-star diamond in her first business center, 4-star in her second, 1-star in her third, and she is an Success Club legend for the last 44 months. She's changed at least 3 lives, which I believe she's changed 5 lives. She's a Success Club 10 legend, which is even more amazing. And she has such an incredible story. And that is one of the reasons why I'm so excited for her to share with you guys. So I'm just going to mute myself and let her take it away. And unmute.
Hey guys.
Okay, there.
I'm assuming. Yeah, great. I'm super excited to talk to you guys tonight because, I think a lot of times you hear statistics like that and you're like, whoa, this person's coming in hot. This person is going to accomplish so much. And, I almost wish sometimes team calls were started with all of the things that have went wrong in the last 4 years, because that's a little bit more relatable. And I think a lot of times when you are an Emerald coach listening to an elite coach, it's like, whoa, I'll never get there. And that's kind of what I thought. And if you guys don't know my story, kind of just backtrack a little bit. I've been a coach for, technically 4.5 years, but about 5.5 years ago, I was the most skeptical person of Beachbody. Like, I was the person that every coach hates, because I always planned on going to dental school. That was something that I have known what I've wanted to do with my life since I was 12 years old. I was the weird 12-year-old that knew exactly that she wanted to be a dentist. I mean, who thinks of that when they're 12? I mean, when I was in high school, I went through mock interviews of dental school. It was my whole life. And so whenever people would ask me, what's plan B? There wasn't a plan B. There was never a plan C, a plan D. That was my life. And when I went to college, I lost the sense of community that I had originally had in sports and National Honor Society and all of these different things. And so the next best thing was to indulge in like the social setting. And I don't regret it. But because of that, I was a college partier. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably know that. I take Energized like actual shot glasses, and that's a part of my story. And I used to be a person that went to Taco Bell like once or twice a week. And fast forward a little bit of time, I went to dental assisting school because I got denied to dental school. And for somebody who's always kind of had things fall into her path, that was the first big, like, oh shit moment, because that was the first moment that someone told me I wasn't good enough. And so they essentially said, you need to build up your resume. So, you know, just a little bit of a detour. That was plan B. Now I have a plan B, and it's going to dental assisting school. So I did that. I graduated top of my class, straight A's, became a president of the class. I created a link into the children's hospital, gave free dental care. I mean, I was doing the things, right? So then when I applied to dental school again, I got denied again. And when I called every school, they basically said, well, your undergrad GPA is really hindering what you're, you know, doing going towards dental school. So again, it was like a gut punch. And I mean, if you've ever applied to medical school or anything, you're not applying to one school. You're applying to 5 to 8 schools. So it's just a no, 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 no. And then I went to get my master's, and, you know, long story short, I was going through my master's, and again, a gut punch, because they didn't actually accept me into my master's. I had a provisional acceptance because of my undergrad GPA. So my freshman year of college screwed over. I was 17. I wasn't even 18 when I went to college. I was not even an adult. And my undergrad GPA started having all these negative effects on my future. And again, like, my path was always there. It was, how do I do this? And everyone just kept saying, just keep going, just keep going. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm throwing money away. And I had to pay for school while I was in it. There wasn't a way to get financial aid when you had a provisional acceptance. And when you work as a dental assistant at $14 an hour, you aren't really throwing money in your savings account. And so at that time, my sister was coaching Beachbody, and I was pretty skeptical. I did not want to drink Shakeology. The first time that I actually drank Shakeology, it was a Samoa cookie recipe with caramel in it and chocolate drizzle. I mean, this thing was not healthy in the slightest bit, but every other time I had it, I thought it was disgusting. And I gave my sister a run for her money, to say the least. For about a year, I said no during my master's, and it got to a point where I had to pay rent. I had to start paying bills, and I was gonna be in debt, even more so than I already was. And so I started showing up on social media, and I started talking to people about Beachbody. And it got to a point where I actually had figured out that I had an exercise-induced eating disorder. And so my sister put me through the 21-day fix. And so I wasn't really excited about it. I wasn't really like, yeah, let's do Beachbody, but it made sense. And so again, long story short, I got such great results that every sign kept bringing me back to coaching. And so then I started doing it as a part-time job, just a couple people here, a couple people there. And it started to evolve, and time went on. And I'm a firm believer in my faith. And so I just kept feeling like I was trying to steer the wheel, and I just kept coming back. Like, I kept getting put back into this coaching, like, driving seat, and I was trying to leave it. And so I wish I could say from then on rainbows and butterflies and stuff, but if you have somebody who's skeptical, or somebody that you know is going to be a great coach, guys, keep driving them back to Beachbody. That's like the biggest thing I've ever gotten from my story, is that I was so skeptical. I was not nice to Jamie about the whole idea of Beachbody, and it took me a year to sign up and a whole nother year to work the business. It wasn't until I went to Coach Summit, a year into my Beachbody journey, and the whole reason I went is just so that I could work out with Shaun T. I did not go to work out the business. I strictly went to work out with Shaun T, which I did. I woke up at like 3:45 in the morning and worked out with him front row and cried. And it was a life-changing experience. And I don't mean that in a cliche way. I'm not really somebody who's kind of fluffy. I am dead serious. It was a life-changing experience. And if you have the opportunity to go to Summit and you're teetering, it will change everything for you. When I came home and I went back to my master's degree, and my friends and family were like, how was Summit? I could not put into words how I felt. It was simply like, it was life-changing. And ever since 2015 Coach Summit, I've never missed Success Club. Like, I was freaking in. And so I know Amy was talking to me about, you know, kind of talking to you guys about my story, but I want to just dive in a little bit about how I got to where I am, because it didn't it didn't happen overnight. You know, I've been here for 3.5 years, and I'm going to share my screen with you because I created some slides. I'm a very visual person, so hopefully some of you guys can appreciate that. Hold on. Oh, not that. Wrong button. Cool. So I want you to look at this screen and I want you to see what you like. What do you see here, guys? I want you to look at the fact that 2015, right there, Emerald Coach, you know, and you hear all these stats and you're like, wow, that's so great. But I started the same spot everyone else did. I started with 0 coaches. I had to hit Emerald. I had to hit Diamond. I had to grow one by one. And so everyone kept saying, you know, what does it mean to be here in 1 year? And what I want to ask you guys this question, because to me, I need a concrete answer. I want to know what that actually means. Because like, okay, I'll be here in a year, but I was here when I was a discount coach. That didn't do anything. My brother-in-law said to me one time, and it'll always stick with me. It's this idea of if you were to ask yourself how much you should get paid this week, like I want you to write down a dollar amount of how much you worked on Beachbody, what your paycheck would be. Would it be $50? Would it be $100? Would it be $1,000? Because that is what you're going to be getting paid next year. And that concept blew my mind because I was like, whoa, I am not putting in $1,000 a week effort to get that next year. And so what I'm doing now, yeah, it's not paying me directly. When you're pushing to Diamond and you're doing the things, this is not a business where you go to work and you get a paycheck. Like you put in the work way early and you get paid later on, and you just have to accept that, and you got to keep grinding until it happens. And it'll happen if you keep showing up. But if you keep every Thursday opening your back office and seeing a $14 team cycle bonus and being like, oh, this is never going to work for me. Well, that's because you're not seeing the vision. You're not seeing the whole point of what this business will do. And so another thing was I was pushing towards elite the first time in 2018. And I was like, someone asked me, why do you want to be elite? And it was the first time somebody had asked me that question. Like no one sat and asked me why I wanted to be elite. I just did it because I thought that's what you do. You push to elite, you push to Diamond, you push to Emerald. But I want you to write down like why you want to be that rank. And when I sat down and I had to write it on paper because I didn't know why I wanted to be elite or why my team needed to be elite. And when I could write down, I want my team to be recognized for all of the hard work because I have felt like the underdog in this business for so long. I have felt like I am living in my sister's shadows. Like I want our team to be up there on stage, recognized for all of their hard work for putting in extra hours. Now I have a concrete thing to push for. Why do you want to be Emerald? What about Emerald is going to make you happy? So be very specific with what you need. I'm someone who's very into goal. I'm a very goal-oriented person. And if I set myself this vision of, okay, I want to be elite, it's going to be a long year, my friends. If you don't just focus, or if that's your only focus, and you are only looking at this idea of like, I will be an elite coach, what is going to make you happy up until that moment? Nothing. So you really need to sit and you need to write down specific goals every day and every week that you can cross off and give yourself that sense of gratification. Because if you don't do that, it is going to be a very sad business. And I did that for a really long time. I was like, I'm going to be Diamond. Okay, well, every day I wasn't Diamond, it was a struggle when I would look in my back office. And so you need to make sure you have tangible things that you can cross off as you go. X amount of reach outs, X amount of posts on social media, X amount of workouts. Like you got to do those things for your own benefit. That's where I think personal development comes into play. Like I am never really going to be the coach that's like, read personal development, you're going to hit Success Club. Cause like that doesn't really work. Okay. I mean, that will motivate you to get out of bed, but you got to put in the work. So what work action oriented items are going to do so that you are going to hit your non-negotiable? And tell your team about it. It's not selfish. I was very, very scared to tell my team I wanted to be a Diamond team. And the minute I did, they were stoked that they were able to help me hit this goal. And if you aren't transparent about that, they're not going to know why you want to be where you want to go. Next thing here, focus on your biggest weakness. This was hard for me because I am a very controlling personality and I want to be good at everything, right? Well, unfortunately, this business doesn't work that way. It is very new. It is new information. It is confusing. It has a lot of different things. And so in the beginning, I was bad at social media. So I studied and I went to YouTube and I went on team calls and I looked for resources specifically on social media so that I could focus on that and freaking nail it so I felt confident before I moved to the next thing. Because if you struggle with all of the areas and you just do a little bit everywhere, you are going to spread yourself so thin. I want you to master, I mean, obviously you won't 100% perfect it, but I want you to feel very confident before moving to the next thing. So I studied up on social media. Then it was, how the heck am I going to hit Success Club? Like my social media, I can post, I can be consistent. I've actually never missed a day on Instagram in 4.5 years. I think that says a lot about where my business is at. We've had, I'll talk about that in a second. It was hitting Success Club. And so I ran free groups. Like it was my freaking job because it is. And then the next thing was about recruiting. I could hit Success Club, no problem, but I could not recruit coaches. So I did a Josh Coates Art of Recruiting class. And, you know, I wouldn't say it was life-changing, but it changed my mindset. And that was huge. And so I totally thought that was worth the money. I'm not going to get super into that because that is just a whole nother topic. But more recent, I was struggling with getting my coaches to hit diamond. Like I could rank advanced emeralds, and I was just really, really not good at that. And I could bring people in, but I couldn't get them further. And so I studied, guys. I'm 4 years into this business and I'm still studying and I'm figuring out what doesn't work and how I can tweak it to make it better. And so now I'm trying to develop elite leaders. And obviously I know a lot of you guys are not at that stage yet, but you got to be very authentic and very transparent with where you are and where you're not. And that's okay to admit your weakness. That's a good thing. So every week, evaluate yourselves. 1 to 10, how was your social media? 1 to 10, how was your recruiting? 1 to 10, consistency, sharing your story, coaches advancing, talk about coaching, all these different categories. And you'll start to see what your biggest weakness is and where you can focus. Like, I don't want you to jump into, I'm going to develop elite leaders and diamond coaches when you haven't even gotten yourself to post on social media every day. Like, you got to start small and build big. And that's how this business works. And so this win the week checklist was something I did during my master's degree because I struggled internally with this idea that I had to do a power hour every single day. And my schedule didn't work that way. I had exams, I had all this other stuff going on. And so I did a win the week tracker so that I, by the end of the week, knew I got all my stuff done, because on Tuesday I was super busy, but Wednesday I had a little extra time and I caught up, so that it wasn't this guilt every single day. But you bet your ass I got my stuff done. But next thing is, like, who really are you guys? Like, this developed everything. Like, I think there's so many coaches that say there's no secret sauce. I think there is a secret sauce. And I think it's, if you can get to a point where you share your story so eloquently, people are going to sign up with you. It's a very hard thing to share your story. It's weird. It's like kind of confusing. You think it would be super easy to just go out there and talk about yourself. It's not, okay? When I first started, it's what my Instagram kind of looked like on the left. It was even more so than that. It was all fitness, because I wasn't really ready to talk about all the other things in my life. And I didn't really think anybody wanted to listen to that. And nobody really knew anything about me except that I worked out every day. And my original diamond was nothing like me. They were great people. They loved to work out, but I had marathon runners in there. I had people that I've never spoken to in the last 2 years because we just didn't have anything in common, but they all worked out. And when I started developing my brand, I started bringing in people that I wanted to hang out with. You know, like, if I were to take those 8 people then and my 8 top coaches now, I mean, completely different. And I would be way more myself around my leaders now versus then, where we had nothing in common. And so what I do is I tell my coaches to take a blank sheet of paper, and I want you to write down every noun, adjective, verb, anything pertaining to you and your personality, because this whole idea of like 3 to 5 brands that make you you, I don't know if you guys have talked about that. I think it's great. I think there's way more to it, because if you take the idea of a mom, I'm not a mom, but I think by saying like I'm a mom, doesn't even encompass a half of what you are. Like, you are way more than just a mom. You are nurturing, you are kind, you are thoughtful, you are putting others first. Like, you are doing so much more. And so by saying like, I'm a mom, it's kind of a shallow thing, because you are so much more than that. And that's where my brand kind of started. And it's this idea of bringing in emotion. And so, you know, once you kind of look at this, ask your significant other, your mom, your best friend, add 3 things to this. Like, I'm a sassy little shit. I am. And I didn't bring that into my brand until about a year ago. And it was like, I was scared of offending people. I was scared of like me swearing on social media and people being like, whoa, unfollow. And then I asked myself, if people are so offended by me swearing, they're not my person anyway, right? And so it was this idea that I need to be more me. And so I brought in emotion. And so everything that makes me sad, happy, angry, all of the above, that's what people are drawn to. And so it's like, this helps you develop your leadership, because it's like if you go on Tinder or Bumble, you're going on there and you might swipe right on a couple people that you think are attractive, and then you go on a date and you haven't really talked about deep things, but by date 3 or 4, if they haven't told you anything deep, you're going to be like, they're hiding something from me. There's something, we're not clicking, like this isn't going to work out. And that was like the biggest thing that dawned on me, because I'm a pretty emotional person. I'm sassy, but I'm pretty emotional. And so, for example, there are certain shows like This Is Us, okay? I cry every episode, especially with Randall. I suffer with anxiety. One time I was just sobbing, like ugly girl crying, because he was sitting in a ball, like in a fetal position. And I've been in that position so many times. And not that I went on my Instagram at that very second, but yeah, I went on and I got teary-eyed, and I was just like, I relate so hard to these people, and they're not even real people, you know? And it was full inbox. Another time, being in California, Adam goes to UC Berkeley. I came from the Midwest, very different person in, like, if you've ever been to 2 different areas, like I went from like 2 polar opposites. Well, here people don't really wave when they cross the street. And to me, I'm such like, please say please say thank you. You can see how heated I get about this. And so Adam stopped letting me drive, because they would walk in front of the car and I'd be like, you're welcome. And I would just want to lay in my car horn, because I would get so pissed off. I talked about that on my Instagram. People felt my emotion, and whether they agreed or they thought it was hilarious, inbox full. People want you. That's how you let them have you. If you just go on there every day and you're like, hey guys, happy Monday, about to get my workout in, drinking my Energize, hope you have a great Monday. Great, I know nothing about you versus Jeannie, the other 30,000 Beachbody coaches out there. Let me know you. Let me know your funny personality. Let me know your serious personality, your sarcasm, like let me in. And you know, that's what creates this idea of $1 million business. Maybe you've heard other coaches talk about this, but like the biggest thing I was skeptical about with coaching was that I didn't understand it. I did not get what it was, except for the people going on there, like kissing their Shakeology cup, being like, join my challenge group. And I was like, what the hell is a challenge group, right? I didn't understand it. And if you YouTube, we all know what's on YouTube with Beachbody. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring in Beachbody to my Instagram in a way that people were always going to understand what I was doing behind the scenes. Because my best friend, who's not in Beachbody, who supports me, but like 2 years ago, 2 years into this business, she's like, so what do you do besides post on social media? And I was like, you really don't know? So I explained it to her. And she said, whoa, you need to talk about that more, because I had no idea. And it was this light bulb moment that I need to talk to Instagram like I'm talking to a 2nd grader. No one knows what PD is. No one knows what a challenge group is. Newsflash, no one even knows what a team call is. When I heard the word webinar, I was like, wait, what? What is that? Like, you got to talk about coaching like nobody understands it. We're so used to this lingo and success partner and all these other like national wake up call. No one knows it. So if you break it down so much, when they get into your coaching previews or whatnot, or however you're doing these sneak peeks, they're not going to say, ooh, this is great, but it's not for me. Because they know it's for you. You know, you've talked about it. They know exactly what they're signing up for, or at least the gist of what you do. They know that I run these groups because I show them. I tell them what they're getting in these groups. I never even say the word challenge groups, because I don't even know what that means. And so it's, how are you going to break down pre-workout, Shakeology, what we do as coaches, and I want you to bring it out at least once a day in one little area so that you've always breadcrumbed coaching. Because if you're bringing on people but they're not business builders, it's because you're not talking about the business enough. That's just like, that was a big light bulb moment for me last year. And I want to know that I even one little area that if someone were to go on Instagram on a Saturday and they were like, you know what, I've been thinking about this, I just need a sign. And I wasn't there. Boom, fleeting thought gone. Your sign was that they shouldn't sign up. So you need to show up for them every day. As for your coaches, getting them motivated, I'm just going to speed through this because if you guys have ever read the 5 love languages, if you haven't, do it. Whether you're in a relationship or not, I use it with my coaches a lot. And, you know, it's a really easy way to pump them up. When I had my first 4 diamond coaches, you see them right there, every single one of them had a different love language. And I had no idea until I read this book. And it was crazy to me how different they were. Like the girl to my right, if I message Sami and I just say, I'm so proud of you, she is flying high. She is hitting Success Club. The girl to my left, if I do that, she'll be like, great, thanks. That is not her love language, but she'll appreciate it. But if I say to the girl to my left, she's my elite coach, and I say, Alex, let's run a group together. Like, let's get our coaches rallied, and I'm going to do an act of service for her. Man, she is all over that. The personality thing, guys, is huge because if you haven't realized, like, unfortunately, not everyone's motivated the same way we are. And when you're talking on social media, if you're only talking to yourself and this, like, targeted avatar, you got to remember a lot of people are motivated by a lot of different things. And maybe you're not a gifts person, but maybe your dream coach is. Maybe you just need to showcase that you gave a $10 Amazon gift card to one of your clients and they're going to be like, whoa, I want that. You know, it's really about showing them what they could get into this business. And so if you've done all this stuff and you've given them trackers, you've given them team retreats, you've put them in pods, success partners, and then these people are still not working and they're just sucking the life out of you, it's okay. Bless and release them. And I know that's scary when you are building a team and you only have 4 coaches, but the worst thing you can do is handhold them all the way through this, because I did that, and I'll talk to you in a second about that. Here we go. I had 3 diamond coaches quit, and I'm about to have my 4th. And so it's one of those things that it's like, these stats are great and all, but like stuff is going to happen and you can't let yourself get down. And I know that's easier said than done. And you can get on these team calls and tonight you're going to be super motivated. You're going to want to do a power hour. Something's going to happen tomorrow and you're going to lose a little bit of steam. By Wednesday, you're going to be like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Guys, that happens to everyone. That happens to people on my level, Amy's level, your level. Like, it happens. In the last couple of years, Adam's dad has passed away very unexpectedly within 3 months. I had 3 diamond coaches, about to have 4 diamonds coaches quit. I suffer with anxiety. I've had depression. These are things that I've seen a lot of coaches use as their excuses of like, oh, I have anxiety, I'm going to shut down. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why don't we turn that into our why? Because I have anxiety, that's why I want to work Beachbody, because usually the things that cause me anxiety are outside of Beachbody, or what Beachbody's freedom can solve for me. And that changes everything, because they were once my excuses of holding me back, not wanting to do it, not showing up, not powering through all these no's. And I turn them into my why. And when you're struggling, like, figure out a personal development book that works for you. It doesn't have to be Girl Wash Your Face. To be honest with you, I don't really like that book. I don't dislike that book, but when that book came out, that was not what I was struggling with. And I think that's the difference, because at some point I might love that book and it might not be popular anymore. If you're reading and you're like, man, this stuff is like, this is just not my thing, it's because you're not reading the right thing. Upper right corner, Anxious for Nothing. Like I said, I'm faith-based, and I was really struggling at one point, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to read a faith-based anxiety book. Like, I have no idea. I loved that book so much, and other of my coaches have not gotten anything out of it. Okay, so it really depends. I loved it so much, I have a tattoo because of it. My only tattoo. So it really needs to speak to you, and if it doesn't, I give you permission to let it down. So when in doubt, personal development, go to your success partner. If you don't have one, get one. find somebody in or out of the team. You know, I think so many times we want like our coach to pair us with a success partner. My last 3, I found somebody that inspired me that was on the same level, pushing to the same goals, and we are all paired out. You know, it's like Amy messaged me to do a team call. She didn't wait for me to message her to have her do, you know what I mean? Like, if you want something, go do it. The worst case scenario is someone says no, and that's not that big of a deal. And then I created the triple R, is the reflect on what you're struggling with, regroup, give yourself a moment, let yourself kind of just understand what's going on, and then react to it. And if you wait and do this triple R in like a month span, it's too long. It's going to hurt when somebody quits. It's going to hurt when someone says no, but reflect on that. Like, okay, this happened. What am I going to do next time? How could I learn from this? And now I'm going to react to it. Because if you just speed it up or you slow it down, you're just not doing it right. And, you know, shit's going to happen. It's not all going to be rainbows and butterflies, but if you can get through the worst times in your business, you are going to have the best experience. Like I mean, I've been talking about a lot of the bad things, but I just really want you to understand that there are things that have happened, but because I've went through them and I failed forward, this life is the greatest thing I've ever had. Like I have an income I never dreamt of. I can fly whenever I want. I have this little guy, if you can see him, little Pongo. And, you know, it's all because I got through it all. And, you know, they always say like, you've lived your worst days. Well, you got through them and you regrouped and you reacted, you know? And so talk to your team about it. You don't need to go out there and just complain all the time, but be very transparent with them. And the video that I took a screenshot of is about 4 months ago. I was struggling really, really hard with the comparison game. And I was devastated because a girl that signed up in my bigger team signed up after me, and she exploded and went way beyond where I was and creating more of a team cycle bonus than me and bringing in more people. And her team was just so many things. And I also had experienced about 10 coach cancellations in a week. And it was like, what is happening? And I broke down a little bit. But when I explained it to him, I was already reacting to the situation, and I already had a game plan on how to come back stronger. And we have started 9-star diamond quals. We have hit 6-star quals in my second business center. Like they freaking banded together because of what we went through together. And so no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Don't let yourself let you feel inferior either. And then this slide was more so just like, don't get into management mode. I talked a little bit about that. It's only going to hold you and your team back. But if you get to a point where you can't handhold them anymore, they're just going to stop. So give them the tools and they're going to run with it. If you have hit Emerald, it's not because Amy made you. It's because you decided to. And your coaches are going to do the same. And so delegate when you can. Maybe you need to have them step up a little bit, and never depend on somebody to rank advance. Like, don't be the coach that says, okay, so when you hit Emerald, I'm going to hit Diamond, because that's great and all. But if you wait on those 2 people and they don't do it, you're going to just resent them. You're going to delay your rank advancement. I did that. And then I just started running with it. And, you know, if you 10X your efforts, you're going to have a 10X team. If you don't do that, don't expect a 10X team. And so this gut check is what I post in my team page, like every 2 months. But like, you know, it says, if your challengers ate exactly like you did this past week, would they be seeing progress or not? If your coaches did half the amount of reach outs you did this week, would they be growing their business? If your potential or prospects saw how dedicated you were to your fitness, would they want you as your coach? And that's something I ask myself a lot, because sometimes the answer is no. And that's a humbling thing to ask yourself. But at the same time, like, you have to be the 10X coach, and that's the only way to do it, is to just be the example, and things will fall into place. It's not going to magically happen, but that's definitely a huge part of the secret sauce. So do you guys have questions? I just wanted to end on the quote of, leaders must be close enough to relate to others, but far enough ahead to motivate them, because I think that's very important for you guys to understand.
Whoa. Okay.
I know it's a lot, sorry.
No, like, you hit so many really powerful like nuggets and points, and honestly things that like I'm actively or have actively been experiencing either in the last few months or like just pulled me back into this last year. You know, I really truly think that, you have to kind of make your struggle your why. Like you really, really, truly do. I talk a lot. I talk about it over and over and over again about how like this last year, like there's never been a time I've been comfortable. I think that's the thing. I think that's the point is like, growing means growing pains. Like to feel uncomfortable constantly means the fact that you're on the verge of like where you need to go, but that was something like you don't know that until you're in it, and you almost don't know that. Like I was listening to a podcast today. It's like, it's like you don't know it until you get to look back. But like, unless you keep going, you'll never get a chance to, you like won't even have that like trail behind you to like look back at or whatever, the mountain. I don't even know. But like, and I love like, growing one by one, like setting the manageable goals. That was something I did that this past year. I made this big vision board of like, all right, I'm going to go full time, like with coaching. I'm going to pay off all my debt and I'm going to like do all these things. And then it like, I got into, close to June and I was like, shoot, like half of these things I haven't even like, I'm nowhere close. It was because of that very thing. I had to gut check and the fact that I wasn't focusing on the daily, weekly things that were going to get me there, and just exactly what you said. And I found like, by doing that, not only like does it make you more productive, does it make your business grow, but it also relieves a lot of that weight and stress that you were feeling of like, you're constantly feeling like a failure because you're not anywhere close to that big vision. And, so we have like, coaches like all across the board on tonight, like about where they're at. And I just think that's such a big takeaway for everybody, no matter where you're at, like that gut check, like constantly gut checking. It just, like, I had same thing. I had like a moment like this past week where I felt like comparison game. Like, I think it was a mixture of everything, like, just comparing, sort of like when you're really, I think as a leader, which is something like I've, stepping into leadership is so foreign to me. It's like I'm learning it as I go, right? Like everybody. But, when you have your goals and then you have your goals, like as a team, like, I opened up about wanting to go elite this year and you bringing that up made me think about it too. It's like, I want everyone to get to that other side. Like I did. I want everyone to get to being an elite team means that people like are coming into their own. Like they're not only like changing their own life, they're changing others, but they're also creating that freedom. And like that's what I so desperately wanted for myself. And like when you hear everybody's whys and everything like that, it's like that's what they want, and you want to help them get that to that point. But for me, it was like you don't quit, you don't backtrack, you sidestep. Like, like you unplug and you pour back into yourself, but you never like, it's never about like actually like I've heard you say on another call how you were on your cruise and you like hired your friend to post for you on your cruise. Oh my God. First of all, you got to tell me like what happens when you go on a cruise. I don't even know. But anyway, that's another story. But how it's so true. Like you have to show up even on the bad days, like when you're vulnerable, like when you're going through the shit. Like it's like, because that's what's like, that is life, like, I don't know, it's so hard to describe, but I feel like the more you like dive into your own journey, like, and especially I know I really like, it's funny you said that about personal development, because like I talk about personal development all the time because I'm so mindset, everything, actions are all controlled by our mindset. And it's like, if you don't check that, sometimes it's not about the actions. Sometimes you're doing the actions, but it's all in your head, And so I feel like that's where that piece comes in. But yeah, same thing. It's like, it's always gonna happen every step of the way, you're going to feel that discomfort. You're going to feel that resistance. And, same thing, like learning to like let things go. And less, I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point. So many just like your reflect, regroup, react. I love that. I might steal it because like I just went live today, sort of talking about that. Even yesterday, like that's kind of my process, but I don't have that awesome acronym for it. So I might steal that. Does anybody else have any questions? Like just unmute yourself and just ask if you guys have any questions. Don't be shy, guys. I know you guys have questions.
I wouldn't say this is necessarily a question, but something that I'm recognizing that I am struggling with is pulling away from social media when I'm personally having a hard time. Like I shared with Amy earlier in the month, and wow, I don't know why I feel like I'm getting emotional now, but I was having a tough time with my husband. We were going through something, and that it was crazy that it was right at the beginning of Team Cut Month, and that almost like set the tone for the whole month. And I stopped doing my invites. I wasn't sharing as much. I haven't really been showing up, and I'm having a hard time sharing that because I know how important it is that we share with people, not just the highs. Like I don't want people to go to my profile and see a highlight reel because that's not what it is, and that's not what we preach. We preach that this is, life, and there are ups and the downs, and no matter what, even when you're in the down, you still show up for yourself. But I'm not sharing that I'm down necessarily. So I guess, how do you come out of your shell more to express when you're not in a good place?
Well, I think that's a very tough thing. And I've struggled with that myself, obviously not in that certain circumstance, but just other things, even with his dad passing away. The week of his death, it was like, I remember going through motions and you could barely breathe, let alone go up on social media and be like, hi guys,
Right.
And what I would definitely say is you'll want stock photos for at least part of that, like you'll want things that you can inspire yourself and doing things, and you don't need to go out there and be like, this is what's going on, but just explaining to people and just saying like, I'm going through a rough time. Here are my tips. What are your tips? Because honestly, one time, one of the things I was like trying to make a post and I was like trying to smile and I just went like this. And I had a panic attack that day. It was awful. And the caption just said, this is my reality. This is my real life. I was trying to make a post for you and I can't. I can barely even function. I can't think. Here are my top 3 tips to get through anxiety, blah, blah, blah. I didn't explain why I had it. I didn't explain what was going on. But when you're struggling with something, just be like, I'm battling something right now. You don't have to be like, I'm battling something in the home.
Yeah.
But I think talking about how you're getting through things like that, just hinting at things, letting people know is going to be so much better than you feeling like you're going in a lie. Because then when you do come back and you're feeling better, they're going to know you went through something rather than like you just went MIA for a little while and came back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely create stock photos. A lot of my coaches create drafts so that you can at least make sure you're showing up through those times. Mm-hmm. But as for stories and stuff, like you might post less and that's okay. But as long as you are authentic of just saying, today's been a really hard day. Like I'm struggling over here and I'm pushing through and this is my plan of action. And I hope you guys are having a good day. And I hope tomorrow is better. Like that tells them enough. You don't need to go out there and tell them everything.
Okay. Thank you.
But I hope everything's okay.
Thanks.
I see Leah said, looking back, I feel like I'm not sharing my story as well lately, and I'm finding difficulty putting my story into words that people will actually read. Do you have any tips or books or any resources on sharing your story?
I wish I could have sent you my link because when we had leadership, we heard from a professional speaker that talked about storytelling. Honestly, like the emotions exercise I was talking about is a lot of times where my coaches talk about their story, because it's easy when you can pinpoint what makes you sad, what makes you happy, and like add to this list throughout the week. I mean, for example, Adam brought Girl Scout cookies the other day, and I looked at the back of Thin Mints, and I'm dairy free, and I found out that there was no milk, and I was like, that's going on the list, and that could be a post in itself, and that's gonna make your story unfold. Like, you don't need to go out there and be like, 3 years ago I found Beachbody and blah blah blah. Like, but those little things are going to create the storyline for you, and it's going to be like chapters of your book. But say you're doing a call to action and you're like, I really want people to feel connected to my story when I'm inviting. What I did, and what a lot of my coaches do, I actually got the idea from Emily Faber because she's a freaking genius, but show a picture of your story, of like, walk them through like they're reading a book of your life. And it's going to be very easy when you can find a photo of before coaching, and this is the day, like, go back and look at your first screenshot talking to Amy, screenshot that. This is the day I reached out to my coach. This is the day my coach reached out to me. This is the day I said no for 3 months in a row. And like, I said no, and here I am. And this is the first time I got a one-on-one with her, and like, talk them through, because people don't know. And so you create your story just by showcasing them. But I think by you adding in your emotions, it's just an easy way to tell your story without feeling like you're putting stress on the situation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Does anybody else have any questions? Well, Sammy, I am just so thankful that you did this.
Of course.
This was amazing, and I think everybody appreciated it and loves you. So thank you so much. And I think if anyone doesn't have any questions, we'll let you go. And I'm just, again, so thankful.
You're welcome. Have a great Monday.
Bye.